So we just finished Mem, and this is Shabbos Mem Aleph 41, and we're talking about things that women can or cannot go out with in their hair. And we discussed whether or not a woman who's going to the mikveh, whether she has to undo all the braids in her hair. The question is, if one hair is knotted, then it's a chatzitza. If three hairs knotted, it's not a chatzitza, because then it's like loose. Now the Gemara says, what happens if one hair is tied to another hair? Or two hairs are tied to two hairs, or three hairs are tied to three hairs. So then what's then? So for sure, two hairs tied to two hairs is already four, and that would be loose enough, and three hairs tied to three hairs should be loose enough based on the same svara. Question is whether one hair tied to another hair, is that like one hair tied to itself, or is that like two hairs? And the question is even two hairs, we don't even know whether that's a chatzitza. So that question remains unsolved. And if we have to paskin, which we don't paskin, but if we have to make a psak and we think of what the halach would be, we would say that it's better lechatchila to take the knots out. And if she went in with two knots, that's two hairs tied to each other, that would be more than already two knots in one hair, and then that would be fine, because that would already be like three hairs tied to each other. If it's two hairs, or if it's one hair tied together, then it will have to be machmer. Rabbi Yehuda says, Zeh shehi yoredes l'tvila lingedes, a woman who descends to immerse from her because she's a nida. So kasheres sa'ara kizna hasos. She's allowed to tie her hair into a pony tail, well, literally a horse tail, but a ponytail, and go down. Le'uvda, and this ruling had happened as an actual incident. Uvasamachalai, and Rabbi Yehuda was samich on it. Happened, and a woman came to him and asked him, and he was samich on this, and he was mekel, and the mikvah was fine. Kahana sha'al Rav, Kahana asked Rav, Mahu meibak be'ilan techayo, may a woman go with these type of chains in her hair? Amarlai, so Rav responded, Kain Amar Asrulai la'adam l'tzeis b'yiminenu. Did the Rabbanon say it's forbidden to go out with belts in her hair, or belts tied around her? No. So therefore, that they are able to go with the ribbons in her hair. Also, anything that you're not going to untie that you want for adornment, you want to show people in the hair itself. You're not going to take it out to show people, but you want to show people in the hair, in the clothes, that's going to be fine. Rav Huna Hayre Lishtei Dereish Kalusa. Rav Huna rules the wife of the Reish Kalusa that the Levidia Dahada Al Kipilita, that he put a golden ribbon on her hair covering, and that's fine. Rabbi Yechon the Hayre Leila and the Bez Bun, and Rabbi Yechon ruled for the house of Bun that Misnasa Talia de Margalisa Al Paragazata, that you're able to put pearl encrusted patch on the tunic. And again, all those things that are going to be adorning the tunic, adorning the hair, and you're going to show it together, you're not going to want to take it off because that's what the whole point is, then those are allowed. Amar Rav Ila said, Kol hamchubor l'chsois, harehu kasus. All things that are attached to clothes are considered like the clothes itself. Utaninan, and we learned in the Brisa, Yaitzehu bezoygim besusai, that we may go out with bells that are on his clothing. The Yaitze bezoygin ba'atzrosa, but we not may go out with bells that are on his neck. So let's see what that's talking about. Is Tana Tanim, their teachers of Brisa taught Bain Elon, Makabel Tumah. Both of these are Makabel Tumah, whether it's on his clothing, whether it's on his neck, is Kabel Tumah. There is Tana Tani, and there are those who learned that Bain Elon, both of those in Makabel Tumah, not Makabel Tumah. So exactly how is it possible? So man, Demar, Bain Elon, Makabel Tumah, the one that says that both of these are Makabel Tumah, because she also lahen im blemi, because there where the clappers of the bells are still in there. Uman Demar, Bain Elon, in Makabel Tumah, without Makabel Tumah, so Bishalai also lahen im baili, and they don't have the clappers and the bells. So again, if it doesn't have the clappers and the bells, it's not Makabel Tumah, but if it does have the clappers and the bells, it is not. It is Makabel Tumah, but all the problem is that also it's going to make noise on Shabbos. So now the Gemara is going to discuss it. Even those that say that the bell should be tahar, so v'lakain amar Ravu and Shimon Rav Abba b'shem Rabbi Yechanam, for not they say that b'zoygein shabarisa trein amorim, that regarding bells that are in a cradle, the two Amar argue. Chad Amar, one says, Moilichumevi, he may go out back and forth with it. Provided he does not cause the bells to sound. The other one says, and the one says, if it causes a sound to be heard, then it's usr. The imla mutter. But if it's not able to make a sound, then it's mutter. So therefore, both of them apparently agree that if it's not used to produce sound, so then it's not mekabel tuma, and you let it go out then. So Taman over there, if the bells are not used to cause a sound to be on Shabbos, they're certainly made to be used to cause a sound in the weekdays. So certainly, at least in the weekdays, they're made. If you're going to put a stopper, maybe you can do something on Shabbos to make them not make a sound. But certainly for the weekdays, they are, and therefore Baram Hacha. But here, if the bells are not used to make a sound to be heard, not on Chayil, not on Shabbos. So why do you have clappers? Why do you have clappers altogether if not used to make a sound? If you're going to stop them up for both weekday and for Shabbos, so then why do you even make clappers? Obviously, with the clappers, because a weekday you want to make a sound. On Shabbos, you want to stop it up because you don't want to make a malacha. But the bottom line is, you do have the clappers. Since you have the clappers, and therefore now it's not a question of what you're talking about where it doesn't make a sound, because clearly we're talking about ones that do make a sound. And ones that make a sound, now it's malaikas. Because if it can make a sound, they say that those are makabel tumah. Loi bitoy tefes, and not with a frontlet. This is sort of like a tiara. So Rabbi Bun Barchia, he says, Kuvitria, there's a kuvitria, davarhu nice and makamav. It's a place where the tefes with tefillin are worn. Tefes, right? The word tefes for tefillin. So this is a place where tefillin are worn, basically in the front of the head, forehead, over there by the hairline. Veloy besanvutin, and now with head bangles. Soivin toivavan, they're dyed strands that are set upon the tiara. Loy bechavul, and not with a woolen cap. So clearly, a woolen cap to protect from the elements, that should be allowed. So schusa, it's a schusa, which is more like a veil. It's not necessarily a head covering; it's more like a veil, and therefore that's a problem because it can be taken off. Tane, we learned in the Brisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Matir. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Matir, he says that kavul it's allowed. You're allowed to take this out. So Rabbi Acha b'Shem Rabbi Kahana, Rabbi Acha b'Shem Kahana says, I said Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Karebi. He's like Rebbe. How's like Rebbe? Kamad Rebbe Yamar Davar Shahu Ta'un Mutter. Just like Rebbe says, anything that's concealed in the body is mutter. Let's say like false teeth, like these days dentures or retainers or Invisalign. Other things, hearing aids, things like that. So then that is mutter on Shabbos. Kain Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Amar. So he also says that davar shehu tam and mutter, things that are concealed under the clothing also. So if it's tucked in, he's talking about a veil that's tucked into the hat, and therefore, since it's concealed, therefore it's allowed. Takshitin lama hein asurin. Why are jewelry prohibited from going out on Shabbos? Rabba says al yidei hanashim shech tznius, because of women that are boastful. Now most women are not boastful, and they may show off the jewelry or just wear it as takshitim. It's supposed to be to adorn them. But some women are very boastful, and they'll want to actually take it off and show to other women. On account of these few women, everyone is now subjugated to this restriction. The they're going to forget. And go for Amos when they show it to their friends. Tane Reb Chalafta ben Shol. Reb Chalafta ben Shol taught in the Brisa, Takshitin Asar l'Shalchan, articles of jewelry may be sent as gifts on Yom Tif. So Amar Marmina, Loy Amre El Shalchan. Only if he's wearing Halal Vashim to mutter. Only he can send them as gifts if she's wearing them. Tane. So this is interesting because are you allowed to give gifts on Shabbos? This apparently says you're allowed to give gifts on Shabbos. Gifts on Shabbos is mutter according to this Gemara. Tani, Bryce taught. Metaltlin esa shoifer lashkais esa tinok. You're allowed to handle a shoifer indoors to give a child a drink with it. You're not worried about they're going to carry it outdoors or he's going to carry it outdoors. Vies hapinkos, vies hakarkash, vies hamara lachsois behen es hakelim. And a notebook and a rattle or a mirror to cover vessel them is allowed. If you're taking, even though these things are inherently muksa, a notebook to write in, a mirror, we're going to learn out the mirror that is also to look into on Shabbos, and a rattle that makes noise. But if you could do them without doing malacha, you're not going to write on it, you're not going to look in the mirror, and you're not going to shake the rattle, so then you're allowed to use them for a mutter purpose on Shabbos. Amar Rabun. Rabun says, Masnisin Amar Kain Asur Lovesh. The Mishnah stated also that it's forbidden to wear articles of jewelry on Yom Tif. For we learned in the Mishnah. Kol Shinasan be Yom Tov. Anything which one can adorn himself on Yom Tov, Mishal Chanaisai may be sent as gifts on Yom Tif. Now, if you say that it's permitted to wear the articles on Yom Tif, one should admit it to send them. So this Bryce is saying that anything that's supposed to be worn can be sent. But we learned in another Bryce that you can't send the jewelry. You have to wear the jewelry in order to give it as a gift. So therefore, since you can't send the jewelry, therefore it's also to wear them normally. Obviously, it's giving a heter to wear them to give as a gift. But if you normally to just go out, then it's saying that it's usher to go out, even on Yom Tif, with the jewelry. And it must be the kind of is that a woman should not go out on Yom Tif to wear the jewelry because she might go out on Shabbos wearing the jewelry because she thinks, I know if I'm allowed to wear the jewelry, therefore I can wear the jewelry on Shabbos. And we know that on Shabbos she can't wear the jewelry. Uma hada detane, and what is with the Bryce is taught? Metaltlin as a shofar lahashka says atniyok, but a woman may handle a shofar to give a child a drink, and we know a shofar in and of itself is muksa on Shabbos. We don't allow it to be done on Shabbos because we're afraid we're going to carry it to an expert. And here we're allowing the child to drink v'esa pinkas, v'esa karshas, v'esa mar, lachsois behemik kelim, also a notebook, a rattle, and a mirror, and to cover vessels with them. So b'yesha leim tayar kli. The articles that have the form of a functional keli, that is what is going on, and therefore that are used for a proper purpose. Whereas if you obviously can't use it for the improper purpose, but if you find a proper purpose for them, then you're allowed to use them. Ad kidoy takshish shel zahav. Thus far, we're talking about gold jewelry. Maybe perhaps it's talking about silver jewelry also that they can't go out. I'm reading B'Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah Aser. So the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah is Aser. Amrina B'Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah Mutter. And others say in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah it was Mutter. So Amr Rabbi Chizkiah. Rabbi Chizkiah says, Ana Yada Reisha V'Seifa. I know the beginning and the end of the matter. And I'm familiar with this. So Talia, the Tikin, the Haved, the Rabbi Yirmiyah. There were young girls growing up in Yirmiyah's courtyard. Asher Shal and Rabbi Zeira. And Rabbi Yirmiyah came to ask Rabbi Zeira, Armalei Rabbi Zeira. They said, La Teisar V'Lai Tishrei. Don't say it's mutter, don't say it's usher, don't say anything about it, just keep quiet about it and don't give up sock regarding it. So Ein Ryan Demar B'Shabbos. Now we're going to see. We talk about a mirror. Now, you can't look in a mirror on Shabbos. Im Haisukivuah. Ba Kaisel, and this is if it's fixed to a wall. Rabbi Mater. Rabbi says Mater. Cham is still prohibited even if it's affixed to a wall. Why is that? So Rabbi B'Shem Rabbah, Rabbi says in the name of Rabbah, Taima dehadr aser. Why is it aser? Pa'amim, because time shehi raya neimas achas levana. Sometimes a woman's going to see the white hairs. V'loy tashaltos. She shouldn't pluck them. V'loy b'hadler day chiyuv chatos. And to come to her a chiyuv chatos, it's taking out 2 hairs will be a chiyuv chatos. V'esh afilu b'chayil aser, and a man is prohibited even on weekdays to look into a mirror. She'ena derech covered, because not a derech covered for the man to be looking into a mirror. Shloisha devar material base Rebbe. There were 3 things that the Rabbanan said that the Rebbe's household is mutter to, even though generally they made it usher for everyone else. Shehi Ryan Mar, they could look in the mirror. Vishiyu Misafrin Kaifi, and they'd be allowed to cut their hair in the Komi style, which basically is a Greek type of style. It's more like a mullet. It's like they cut basically the front of the bowl, they allowed the back to be grown, or maybe it just bangs and the back grew longer. Ushehi Malamdim as B'neihem Yavanis, and they allowed their girls to learn Greek intelligence, in other words, mathematics, science, that type of stuff. Because their members of the household were dependent on government. The problem with these days, if I may interject, is that when you allow women to go ahead and learn Yavanis, which is basically mathematics, arts, sciences, etc. The problem is they're going to be very intellectually stimulated, and they're also going to be worldly. When you have boys who all they do is learn yeshiva from Gemara, there's going to be a huge disconnect. Women do not learn Gemara. Women learn science and mathematics and about the world. Men learn Gemara, but do not learn science, mathematics about the world. There's a huge disconnect. There's no connection whatsoever. I'm not an expert on the subject, but I will say, in my empirical evidence, I find this gap to be a problem. What's the solution? Ask the rabbis. Rabbi Yevu b'Shei Rabbi Yehu said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Mutter Adam Lamed es Bita Yivanis. It's permissible for a person to teach his daughter Greek wisdom, and leave it at that. So now let's just go back quickly. Regarding takshitin, so obviously clearly the Yerushalmi says that you cannot wear takshitin because we're afraid that women are going to show it off to each other. It could be that we have in a situation where these days women are so afraid they're going to lose their jewelry, and jewelry is insured, they no longer take it off. Matter of fact, forbidden to even remove the ring. Washing's a problem. Can you imagine a woman washing in someone else's house, how they watch over their jewelry? So the way women watch over the jewelry these days, we no longer have a chash. They're going to take it off to show their friend. They're going to dangle it maybe in front of them, but they're not going to take it off because of the expense. And therefore, perhaps that's why these days it's a reason to say that it's mutter.